we've got a couple of jobs that I want to try and get finished off before we go out sailing. We've done quite a bit of work on our LED lighting project inside the boat, and I'll show you that when it gets a little bit darker later today. I've completed that side. I've done something quite interesting around the nav table, so I'll show you that. If you follow us on Facebook, you might have already seen it, but I'll show you what I've done over there. Done the starboard side, need to finish all of the port side, and I'm here on my own basically because I'm probably going to have to strip out most of these cabinets, get all the stuff out and take the pieces of wood out, because routing the cables, it's just a bit of a nightmare. I've also bought one of these little LED light bars, and here it is, just dead simple, nice and thin. I'm going to try and fix that up under here. This has been on Chris's list for quite some time. There's a little bit of low light in this area. We've got one light here. Some of the other people with these boats have installed another light just on this side. But this corner in particular and part of the cooker really aren't lit very well. The light from that just kind of comes straight down, covers the fridge and the sink. Gets a little bit dark, particularly in the winter on this side of the boat. So I'm going to try and tackle that as well with this little thing. And hopefully just sticking that under there, it'll just cover that area really nice. So we're going to have a look at that. I might do some other lighting in this corner. I'm not quite decided, but I am going to do this part of the boat because it's really quite nice at night now with the low level lighting. It's just finished it off lovely. So I'll show you that in a bit. The other thing on the list, we've got a replacement for our Advert battery manager. So if you followed us for a little bit, this packed up it packed up before our journey. It started throwing out about 15 volts, which is not good. And yeah, the company unfortunately has kind of gone into liquidation, or they don't sell to the consumer market anymore. I've had a look inside, can't repair it. So we're going to swap that. We're going to swap the split charging diode, and we did a video covering the kind of the different charge setups on boats. So I'll include a link in the video for that. But basically we're going to switch to one of these Victron XS. So this is a DC to DC smart charger. It basically uses one of the batteries as its kind of power source and then charges another, exactly the same as a mains charger, but it's not plugged into the mains. That's probably the easiest way to kind of describe it. Ideally, this is located close to a battery. So have a little bit of a chat with a couple of people in the Victron Facebook group, and everybody's kind of said the same, stick it as close to the batteries as you possibly can. Now, I bought myself some wire, some other bits and bobs, some crimp terminals, all the bits that kind of a need. However, my original plan was to stick it in the engine compartment and utilise the existing wiring that we've got in there to basically bridge a connection between the start battery and the house bank. I'm likely to move it now. I'm likely to stick it over here with all the other Victron kit. It's closer to the batteries, it's probably where it should be, and it'll also run slightly cooler because our engine bay isn't actively cooled, so it probably is going to get warm in there, and that's probably not the best setup for it. So we'll see how far we get with that one. Might have to kind of do that in two halves, but I'll show you the setup. I'll show you what we need to change to install one of these if you've got this current setup on your boat, and kind of take it from there. So first plan is a cup of tea. Second plan is to probably start stripping out these cupboards and getting our LED lights all installed on this side of the boat, and then we'll take a look at this guy, and then we'll start on this. So as you can see, we've already started to empty cupboards. I'm going to be living off soup because we've got loads of soup to eat. We have taken the back off this cupboard, so this is the way down. It goes past the fridge control unit, which then is in here, and then past the actual fridge compressor there. This speaker wire is the one that I'm going to try and follow, because that goes in here. That's going to be fun. And then pops out here. Also know that these need tackling. They're not good. I'll change them. Then it goes under there, and then it would appear somewhere on this side. So, and then the next sort of access hole is there, or in the bottom of this, actually probably in the bottom of that cupboard there. So these are really useful on boats. So I'm going to thread that through now and try and make my way down behind there, get it to there, and then make my way from there up into behind this cupboard, and then eventually up into this side. So as you can see, we've had to get the floor up here to get across just this little section just here. So I wanted to do a proper job and actually get the cable to follow the tray, so I've had to lift that piece of floor. But just show you the structural part of this boat underneath. Obviously they're my Coke cans and my foot. But yeah, you know, I think sometimes these boats get a bit of a tough deal, and you know, they're not built very well, but they are built pretty well. This boat's 21 years old now, you know, and bilges are bone dry. Excuse the drinks, but you know, stainless steel bolts, all in really good shape. The woodwork's still in really good shape. A little bit of few bits to correct here on this, and that isn't water, that's a little bit of grease actually. I'm just going to wipe that up. But yeah, you know, all bulkheads, structural parts. In through here, as I've worked my way through this bit, there's bulkhead after bulkhead, holding obviously all the kitchen units together. I put my hand kind of through this bit here and I thought, oh, I could feel a pan, because I was trying to get across this back, and that's the back of that cupboard. So got my cables now down to here, just need to run up this side and up the top of here, but as you can see, the boat is a mess, but we're getting there. As with most boat jobs, you come across something that you didn't expect, and here I found that the two terminals on the end of the pump weren't in great shape, so I decided to cut them off, crimp some new ones with heat shrink crimps so that I could get a really good seal on them to make sure that our bilge pump was in good condition if we needed it. So I managed to get my cables to this corner, so you can just see we're just in front of the galley and my cables now are making the way up. There's a piece of trim here that I removed which holds the vinyl in place, and the idea was that I could try and get through this corner without having to drill through the bulkhead, and luckily there is a small hole. With the aid of my plastic fishing tool, I carried on working my way through the various bits of boat to finally get my cables up to the top so I could pull them through. So I think this is probably the hardest bit, is soldering wires onto the end of these terminals, you know, these little tiny bits of copper there on the back of the LED. I think if I was going to do this again, I'd probably just buy 2 strips and just cut the ends off and do it that way, because it comes pre-soldered. But if you look, I mean, I have to use my magnifying glass to actually see that, but it's so small, it's tiny. There's a bit of a gap there, but I'll have to zoom in just to make sure there is. And then I put a little bit of heat shrink over that just to try and support it. But yeah, I think if I was going to do it again, I'd buy 4 lengths of this and just cut the ends off. I know that's a bit of a waste, but God, it's hard. Nearly there though now. Okay, so let's have a quick look at how we're going to change this charging setup to accommodate this new charger, this new Orion XS. So the first thing you can see on the Orion XS is it needs an in, a ground and an out. So the in is from the starter battery in my case, and the ground will be the main boat ground, because the ground is shared between all the batteries on this boat, and the out will be to the house bank. So that's what we need on this side. If we have a quick look at how the engine's currently set up, this wire here coming off the back of the alternator goes down here, along here, and then it goes up to the charge diode that's up in the corner here, and from the charge diode it then comes back down on another red wire and connects on the back of the starter solenoid, which is there. On the other side of the starter solenoid, you probably just can't see just there, if I just go a little bit closer, this wire is the main starter battery cable. So this is a big chunky cable, this guy. So he's going all the way around and over there to where the batteries are kept. So that's all great. However, a couple of things first of all to notice. First of all, these two cables need to be joined together in the new world, because if you look on here how it works on this diode, the left one is the house bank, the middle one is the alternator, and the right one, this one that's labelled number 1, is the starter battery. And that's how it's set up at the moment. So starter, battery and alternator need joining together for us. We don't want them to ever be separated, otherwise we'll not be charging the battery and the alternator could be sort of dishing out power. So for us, we've got to try and join these two together. Now that's fine, we can just cut the thing out, get ourselves a nice bit of chunky cable here and join this together. And that's probably the best thing to do, is to join this with a really heavy bit of cable, because the cable that I'm sort of putting for maybe a little bit heavier. It's a little bit heavier than what's currently on the boat at the moment. Now, from the battery up here, so from battery number 2, this one, this goes over underneath here, along here, round the bathroom, and heads that way. And in there, it meets another chunky cable like this. It meets another chunky cable like this one behind the switch panel. So it's not a small cable the whole way. It's quite a big cable, but there's a section of it which is lighter. So I probably won't end up ever using that cable again. We'll probably just disconnect that and just put it somewhere safe, because this Orion XS is going to end up over there, closer to the batteries. So I think that's probably the best way to set it up. And as I say, probably a little bit more work, but it's probably better. It keeps the heavier grade cables closer to all of this stuff, closer to where we want it. So we'll get less voltage drop. There's less heat generated in the cable to be shorter run, so that's all good news. And then we're just relying really on this link here, which if we beef that cable up as well, that means that again we're then back into the really thick stuff, which is obviously used to start the boat anyway, so that's more than up to the job. This, I believe, is only a 70 amp alternator. I'm probably going to end up restricting my Orion XS a little bit, probably drop it down to about 40 amps. I think that's pretty much the ampage that I've seen my batteries charge at anyway, so that makes the most sense to me. So yeah, so I think that's probably the best thing. Probably not going to be able to actually do a lot of that now, but I can do a bit of it possibly tomorrow. I can do a little bit of work here, just ripping some of these cables out, taking out things that I don't need anymore, and then I'll do a proper video actually how I'm going to set this up, and do a kind of a start to finish, I think. So I've pretty much finished the underlevel lighting now. I think I'm going to have to ask Chris what she thinks about the amount of light now over the cooker, because actually it's quite bright. Let me show you. So that's with that one on full. Just starting to do my dinner, and it's actually providing probably more light than this is. So we need to be a little bit darker, but you can see with it on full, it's quite bright. I've got the others on. I'll show them a bit later on when it's gone dark. But yeah, it's looking quite nice. But let me just show you this, because this is straight out of Star Wars. So a little while ago we did a video of a clicker that lit the gas. That clicker unfortunately let go recently, so we found this. Now, there it is. Straight out of Star Wars, that is. It's absolutely brilliant for lighting the gas. Let me just show you. That beer's mine in a minute, and so are a new set of knees. It's brilliant. It lights things so easily. It's great. Straight on. So I thoroughly recommend that. You just need to charge it, and yeah, it works really well. Brilliant bit of kit. One of the things that I can do on this side here is I can turn this one to red. So if I tap that one goes to red. And then we can use that for, you know, nighttime, night sailing, whatever we want. And I can click it back over and it goes back to white. So, yeah, really pleased with that. It's worked really, really well. Looks really nice. It's just taking the harshness out of the downlights, really. It was never particularly unpleasant, but it's just kind of just set the scene really nice. Much more inviting than it was before, and great for kind of watching a bit of TV or a film or anything.